As I've said for many years now, PSVR2 has one of its best experiences in Gran Turismo 7, especially online sim racing. Racing against other people is utterly fantastic, but there is one thing that I've complained about the entire time that I've played the game on the channel, and that is the lack of auditory feedback. Now that does sound a little vague, but essentially what I mean is that when you're driving in other sim racing games like Assetto Corsa or iRacing, you have, say, a race engineer in your ear giving you feedback and telling you certain things that happen during the race, whether it's your fuel, tyre deg, gap to other people, penalties, pit stops, incoming rain, and all sorts. Gran Turismo 7 lacks this as a whole, not just in the VR component, but in the VR component it's felt the most because you don't have access to timing sheets. You have to basically scroll through menus while you're sitting in the car and physically turn your head to look at them, to take a look at your fuel maps, your tyre deg, and the incoming rain, and overall it's a bit of a clunky experience, but there is something here now, provided you have an Android phone, at least at the moment, that can solve that for you, and I'm here to talk about it. Before we get into it, only 25% you are subscribed, so please feel free to do so, and thank you to our patrons and YouTube members. Without them, I simply wouldn't be able to do this day after day and week after week. With that being said, let's take a look. So, what is the solution to getting this feedback to us as players while we're inside the headset? It's one of the most requested features from Polyphony, but it's not Polyphony who've delivered it to us. This comes from a Reddit user called Skepler, who I've been following for the past couple of weeks or so, and the progress they've made on this app has been phenomenal. They announced the other day, after 2 months of internal alpha and closed beta testing, I'm happy to announce that GT Race Engineer is now moving from closed beta to open beta. So that means that all of you, provided you have a phone that works with it, which is just an Android phone, can give it a go and try it, and I'll leave a link to the Reddit post in the description below. A special thanks to all the beta testers who started this thing off, and that most of the basic features they aim for are now in place alongside a lot of improvements thanks to their helpful insights and patience. There is no more email sign up, you just jump right in via the link and start testing, and of course it's still a beta, still plenty of work to do, but they're excited about the progress they've made so far. The app was mainly created with PSVR2 immersion in mind, but they hope it can be of use to anyone, whether you're a more hardcore daily race or private league player, career casual, or anything in between. So it now has a Google Play Store page. However, that's not the really interesting stuff. The really interesting stuff is what's actually included here. It does have some limitations for sure, but we now have a way to get a lot of feedback to us as players while we're in the headset without breaking immersion. Essentially, you'll be given radio calls through this app through the output of information that GT7 sends to it throughout the race, including starting position, your lap time differences, your current lap, remaining laps, a farewell message at the end of the race, your current fuel level and warns about low fuel if needed, announcements for refueling, fuel duration estimation, when the game is paused, when your tyres are too cold, when your tyres are warmed up, and when your tyres are too hot. The dev is very clear in saying, unfortunately, a lot of stuff is missing from the info GT7 provides, most importantly being gaps to other cars, penalties, and actual tyre wear, so they can't include that. And that is a big miss, of course, but it's not the fault of the dev at all. Ideally, in the future, Polyphony would add an actual race engineer that tells you these things, at least with a toggle on and off if you wanted it or not. But as of now, there is a lot here that is useful, especially if you race with no HUD, like having feedback about your tyres and how long your fuel stops are going to be, as well as the remaining laps of the race, so you can get a lot more immersed into it. They also have some more stuff planned, like an overview of the entire event, encouragement on your fastest laps if they're consecutive, your lap time average mid-race, your lap time average on pitting, encouragement through your pit stop, reaching your top speed, suspension analysis, crash detection, tyre slip, and wheel lock. Of course, this is just a side passion project alongside their full-time job, so they're not sure how long it'll take for all of these features to make it to the app. But that's really exciting. It just adds a lot more immersion, you know. One of my favorite things about Cody's F1 games, although I have my problems with them, God, I do have my problems with them, is the race engineer feedback. The fact that it will relay to you a lot of information throughout the race, just like in real life. It's something that is sorely missing from GT7. And again, I'm surprised that Polyphony have never really introduced this themselves, but I guess it fits the clean aesthetic of Gran Turismo. GT7 doesn't have any voiceover at all throughout the entire game, and it kind of keeps to the GT style. So I guess a race engineer like this wouldn't really fit, but I just think it's something that makes a lot of games like iRacing and Assetto Corsa feel quite immersive when you have a race engineer calling out when you should stop, when there's a car next to you, your tyre deg, your tyre temps, and of course because of GT7's limitations on information, we can't get all of this here, but there is a fair bit that we can get, for example, like those temperatures when they're warm, when they're cold, when they're too hot, and eventually when you have brake issues, when you crash, and when you have wheel lock issues. That's going to be really cool to see implemented. And of course, this is free, so please do go and check it out. Again, it does require you to have an Android phone, but this is a really exciting solution to a problem that I've had on GT7 for a while. I have an Android phone, but it is back at home. I'm at university at the moment, so I can't test this out. But from what I've seen, and I've been following this for a little while, it is genuinely very effective, and the radio calls are pretty damn good in terms of how they sound and their quality and accuracy. But if you have tested this out, please do let me know how it is in the comments below. Are you going to go test it out? If not, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.